What's going on, everybody, and welcome to another episode of the Oly Kanoli Show. Today we have Samir Ahmeen, so please welcome him.
Assalamu alaikum, bro.
Thank
you for having me.
Of course, bro. So tell me a little bit about yourself.
I like to say I live a humble lifestyle. I try to stick to my religion and practice and get better with it every day. I have an obsession for training.
Nice.
Boxing, all martial arts. I wouldn't say just boxing. I currently do Muay Thai, boxing, a little bit of grappling. So that's pretty much that's my daily routine, I would say. So MMA, praying, reading the Quran. That's my
Nice,
life.
bro. What got you into MMA or like martial arts?
So it all started when I was a kid. I have an older cousin who's actually a professional athlete. He's a professional boxer. And we went to the gym together. I went to watch him spar, actually. And then I just put on gloves and I haven't took them off since.
Yeah, and it's like you almost like fall in love with it when like you do it for the first time. You're like, oh, this is awesome. Like,
so you get punched in the face.
So how do you kind of like manage that, like kind of with your day-to-day life? Like, because obviously, like you said, like getting punched in the head and the face, doing all those things, like it's that like seen as aggression or violence. But people who are in martial arts always say that it's more about defending yourself and being strong within. So could you explain a little bit about that to me?
It's definitely a mind game. It's more of a mental than physical thing. That's just how I take it in. So basically, like I was saying, it's more of a mental thing. So I try to stay consistent with it, due to the injuries you could get. I try not to overdo it, because at the end of the day I have to work. Once again, keep up with my religion. And I just can't walk around with a black eye every day. Concussions. So I try to, twice a week maybe. So
what's your favorite part about like martial arts?
Favorite part is the work. Like I just like the feeling of the work, the hard work, being tired, because it makes me feel like, I accomplished something.
And it's like a grind too, for sure.
Yeah, it's definitely not easy. It's definitely not. If it was easy, a lot more people would do it.
I always say like a bunch of my friends like are into it and like they love it, but because they're older and they have like jobs and stuff, they're like, dude, I can't train as hard as I used to. Just because like I'm not gonna be a pro tomorrow, but I love doing it as like a practice,
And I started off, like I said, I started off with boxing, and then when I found out that wrestling is sunnah and that the Prophet, peace be upon him, was a wrestler, I'm just like, oh, I have to do it. So I've been slowly trying to get into grappling as well. Slowly, I'm not rushing it. One thing I did learn with martial arts is that wrestling is probably the hardest. The conditioning for it is crazy.
Dude. I always saw in high school, like my wrestling friends who like also played soccer or something, their conditioning would be absurd. Like we would do like 6:18 midfield sprints and they would be zoom, 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 zipping. And I'm like, you guys are so fit. It's like, for wrestling, they make us run sprints. And I'm like, they don't even run in wrestling? But then the fitness it's needed to grapple with someone is intense.
You see, now it looks easy. Like there's a couple times where I was cocky and I thought, oh yeah, I can take him. And then you go to do it, 15 seconds with rolling around with somebody, you're tired out, you're burnt.
Because it is like 1v1, it's PvP, person versus person. You're not trying to get pinned the same way they're not trying to get pinned. That's like the highest level of exert of energy you can do.
And it's not like boxing where like you take breaks, get water, like you just go until it's over,
Yeah, it's definitely kind of intense.
Yeah, I don't plan on like taking it serious or anything. It's just like to keep myself in shape type of thing. If I did take a martial art serious, it would be boxing though. It's like the safest to me, in my opinion.
No, of course. And I know you were talking a lot about like how the Prophet, peace be upon him, was like sunnah to like wrestle and everything. So I kind of wanted to ask you, like, were you born Muslim or did you recently become Muslim?
So that's a very good question. And what a lot of people don't know is that I was born Muslim. I mean, everybody is, but when I say born Muslim, I mean like I was in the Masjid when I was a kid. I recently took my Shahada again, May 12th of this year. But I was born Muslim. I was in the Masjid when I was a kid. My grandfather is a Muslim, and unfortunately, he's not around anymore. He's still with us, but he's not around. But yeah, he, had me in the Masjid. He was teaching me about the book and the message of God, and then, like I said, unfortunately, when we split up is when I lost the religion, and I grew up and there was different experiences that I had that made me question God. But I always believed in God, but there was always some parts of my life where I was like, why is this happening? Why? So then, like, you know, I grew up, and then I started getting tattoos and stuff without thinking of it. And then now that, you know, I'm into the book and I'm into the religion, and I'm learning every day. You know, I'm also in a study circle every week. I go, I don't miss it, you know. So I'm learning every day, and like I just now that I'm older, I understand that he tests you.
Yeah.
That every human will have a test.
Yeah, no, it's awesome, and it's cool because even for me, someone who's born Muslim, like you're gonna make mistakes in life that you look back and you're like, yo, I regret this, but in life, no one's perfect. We all make so many mistakes, but a really cool thing that I learned in Islam is that like heaven is filled with sinners, hell is filled with sinners, but heaven's filled with sinners who repented to God, who understood that they made mistakes, who asked God for forgiveness. And that's kind of like the amazing part where it's like you always have to look forward to how can you become better. And it's awesome that you kind of got gravitated back into like the deen and Islam even without like your grandfather's presence around you. So kind of how did you get like inspired to kind of go back into it?
So speaking of us talking about working out earlier, that's where it all started, believe it or not. So I believe in strong body, strong mind. So my cousin pulled me back into the gym. I didn't even want to go. He pulled me back into the gym, and I slowly was, you know, getting more and more and more addicted to the point where I'm going every day. So now as I'm getting stronger physically, my mind is getting stronger as well. So I'm like, I just want to grow. I'm going to start reading. The first book I read was a book called The Art of War. And then I read a book called The 48 Laws of Power. And then I seen the Quran, and I'm like, I'm going to pick it up and I'm going to read it out of curiosity. At the time, I wasn't even thinking of, you know, committing to this lifestyle and, you know, accepting Islam. But so I read the book, and then I'm like, you know, I'm still off and on with it. And then like I had an experience. So like I said, I took my Shahada May 12th. I had an experience. I took my Shahada on a Friday. So Wednesday, the Wednesday in that week, I met a guy. I was outside taking the trash. I was going through something at the time. You know, it's crazy. And I see this guy walking down the street. And mind you, it's like 8 o'clock at night. So like where I live, somebody's just walking down the street and you see like they're kind of acting wild, you go in the house. But like I stayed outside, and the guy, like, you know, he approached me, he's talking to me. I just left the gym, you know, I'm doing my chores, got
so home. The endorphins were rushing, you felt good like mentally and stuff?
So this guy's like, oh, you're big, are you a fighter? And I'm like, yeah, I box. And then we're just talking about boxing, and then like something about this guy was just comforting. Like I can talk to this guy. I didn't even know him. I never met him. So then he has like a beard with henna in it. And like I said, my grandfather's Muslim, so I'm aware. So I'm like, are you Muslim? And he's like, yeah. And we started talking about it, and he's like, oh, are you Muslim? I'm like, you know, I kind of have one foot in the door right now, but, you know, I'm thinking of, you know, officially walking through. So we're having this conversation, and this guy's like, oh, I want you to come to the Masjid and take your Shahada this Friday. You can come. He gave me his number, and he said to call him, and that we'll meet up there. He'll let everybody know I want to take my Shahada. And then this guy leaves. You know, like I said, it's 8 o'clock at night. I shook his hand, he leaves. And then I go Friday and take my Shahada, and I don't see him. So then I start asking about him to other people, and they're like, we never heard of this guy. Yeah, I'm even describing him. They're like, I don't know who this is. And then that's when I realized this was made for me.
Like a sign that was like, okay, this is the path I need to be walking down.
Yes, this is where I belong, you know. And at the time, I was going through something, you know. So just that guy talking to me about Islam, and, you know, getting into my mind enough for me to say, okay, I need to do this, means a lot to me. And, you know, I know that that's Allah, and I know that, you know, that was a message, and I'm glad that I received it in the right way, and that I made this decision, because now I'm good up here, you know, and I'm good in here. And that's very important, you know. So.
Yeah, of course. And like, congratulations for that. And I remember like that day I met you on your Shahada, and I was just like talking to you a little bit about it, and you told me that story, and I was like, wow, it's incredible. Like, because that's how life is, you know. Sometimes like things happen, you have no explanation for it, and you try to tell people like yo, this happened to me, like almost sounds like it was written in a movie.
Yes.
You know, but like our lives
Yes.
are all like its own individual little movie that God writes for us.
Yeah.
And we just have to like kind of like live through it. So I just want to commend you for like really taking that like that step into it,
Thank
you know?
you.
Of course, bro. And when it came to like picking up that Quran for the first time and kind of reading through it when you're older, because obviously you probably seen it when you're little or
Yes.
younger, but when you're younger, you don't really get it, you know? Like I remember my dad taking me to like the Taraweeh prayers for Ramadan, and I would be like rushing to get done prayer so I can go play ping pong upstairs with the younger guys. And we look back on it as like the older guys now, when we're older, we laugh at those moments. Like, wow, we were even trying to pray. We wanted to go play ping pong. But when you're older and you're really reading the scripture, you're understanding like the analogies within the Quran, the understanding of what it means to live through these types of stories, to read other prophets' stories and what they went through. When you're listening to it, reading it, and then you kind of put it into your life and experiences, you're like, oh, this makes a lot of sense.
And it does something to you. Like this, a lot of people don't believe me when I say this. Like you feel it. When you pick that book up and you open it, from the first page to the last page, you feel it. Hasn't been one time where I picked that book up and I didn't feel something inside. And it scared me at first.
Yeah.
But then I grew to love the feeling, you know? And now I always have the book in my hand.
Yeah.
You know, I feel something special even when I'm on my prayer mat and I pray. When I'm done, I will just sit there and hold the Quran. Sometimes I don't even read it. I'll just sit there and hold it because the feeling.
There's like an energy that it holds. Oh, it's awesome. And do you think that within like this recent journey of Islam, like it's been intense or it's scary, or like what's kind of a feeling that you felt in becoming like a Muslim for real, like stepping into that door?
It's been very great. I guess I can say like it's going smooth. You know, I haven't really had any like mixed emotions about it or anything. Like literally I'm excited. I wake up every day happy because I know I'm a Muslim.
Yeah,
every day I wake up with a smile on my face. And I thank Allah for guiding me to this religion, you know? So
it's like a feeling, especially when you're new. And then we had a friend, me and my brother had a friend who recently converted as well, like almost a year ago. And he had the same experience and the same feeling. He was like, dude, like, I realized like, wow, like this is real. Like this is really how it is. And even for me, I think when I started becoming a lot more religious, like I've always prayed and did Ramadan when I was younger and all of that. But when I really stepped into it, like, honestly, for me, it was scary. Yeah. Because I had to accept all the things I did in the past was wrong. And I had to accept that what I was doing wasn't the best version of myself. And then I kept hyper-analyzing myself, and I was like, wow, I made so many mistakes that I wish I can take back. I did so many things that I regret. But I learned that in those things that you did wrong or those trials, they were all tests for you to learn about how to be the best version of yourself. Especially, it's like you ask God for patience. He's not just going to make you a more patient person. He's going to give you tests that make you more patient, you know, and then you have to pass that test to then level up or become more patient. Yeah. And obviously, like everyone knows this quote, it's like God gives his toughest soldiers the toughest battles. And it's that experience, like, oh, like, why me? Yes. Why this? Why did this bad thing happen to me? Why did this bad thing happen to me? But accepting it and saying, God's redirecting me to something better. Yeah. And having that like humbleness and like separation of your ego to accept that thing is like the best feeling. And with Islam, it helps a lot more than just your mind. Yeah.
So speaking of the question you asked, another thing that like made me very comfortable, mind you, I'm a shy person. Like once I'm in front of a lot of people, like I'm like stutter, you know. I get you. So usually I can never stand in front of people and talk. When I took my Shahada, I felt so peaceful and comfort, you know? And just being around the brotherhood, you know, you were the first person I talked to after I took my Shahada. And we sat there for a good 10, 15 minutes and talked like we knew each other for years. Yeah. Just the brotherhood and how Islam brings everybody together, it's just amazing. And it's a beautiful thing. And I think if everybody in the world experienced that, everybody would be a Muslim.
Yeah. And it's hard too, because sometimes you think, especially when like you know the truth, then you're sitting there trying to wake everyone up from their nap. You're like, yo, wake up, wake up, wake up. Like, guys, are you not seeing this? Like, everything lines up perfectly. And for me, like, I think what really helped me dive deep into my faith and my religion is when I realized that everything that people talk about, for example, the Matrix, or when they talk about, oh, like what society has become, Islam, like, followed truly solves all those problems. For example, in Islam, like riba or usury or interest is haram. Yes. But it's haram because it's so predatory. It's haram because accepting it and taking advantage of people because of like the money is haram because you're taking advantage of people. Why is student loan debt in the trillions? Why is all these people behind on mortgages? Why are all these people behind on all these things? Because they're trapped paying into the interest, not even in the house that they bought 20 years ago.
Yeah.
You know, and it's like, as a Muslim, you believe that that shouldn't exist in our society, and that would help people. You know, even something like pork, not eating pork or drinking alcohol. These things are banned for us in religion and faith because they're bad for us. You know, and it's really interesting because something like Matrix-wise, people say that it's spiritual suicide to eat pork, and this isn't even like religious. People say because when it's burning, it almost smells like human flesh burning. And firefighters say that sometimes they can't eat bacon because it smells like when human flesh burns. They have like PTSD when they smell it. And then it made me think that, is it then spiritual suicide to then eat something that has similar taste to human?
Yes.
And then cannibals have come out to say that human flesh tastes like pig.
That's crazy. You just taught me something new.
And I saw that and I was like, no way, right? I didn't believe it. But then like I started kind of looking into it a little more. I'm like, maybe that makes sense why it could be someone could say spiritually, not even religiously, that it's spiritual suicide.
Yeah.
Then swine also are what? They roll around their own filth, eat their own crap, and then eat it, and then we eat that.
Yeah.
Because pigs will eat anything.
Yeah.
And nowadays in the industry, like food industry, they basically make pigs eat all the plastics, the minerals, the crap, and they give them all the stuff to eat because they're basically like the compost machine.
Yeah.
A free compost machine. But then that food is within our bodies then if we're eating it. So it's like, look at how then God is protecting us by not eating this thing. Or even something like alcohol. Alcohol basically is a poison.
Yes.
But God says to not drink it because it's a poison to your body. So that's protecting us again. So it's kind of cool when you start seeing all those like little things that make sense.
Yes.
It's like, click, you know?
And you know, it's crazy you say that because I didn't mention earlier when I was talking about my grandfather. So my great-grandmother, my grandfather's mother-in-law, is a very, very, very strict Christian. And he's a Muslim. And I lived in a house with both of them. It was like fire and water every day. One's in my ear, the other's in my ear, you know? So that was one thing I remember him always telling me, you do not eat pork. You stay away from pork. It's no good for you. And I said, why? God says so. Don't ask questions. Just don't eat it, you know? And as a kid, you say, what?
You're so confused, yeah.
And then, like, as I get older, I realize, you know, like, he's right. Don't even ask the questions. Why? See? And you just taught me a lot about, you know, pork. I never looked into it because of what he told me. Don't ask questions. Don't even look into it. You don't need to know why.
Yeah.
He knows why.
Yeah.
There's a reason, you know? So.
And that's amazing because a lot of things for me, I still don't understand exactly 100% why, but I'm trying to get there. I'm trying to learn it because, again, as a human, you want, because, again, I would tend to say I'm pretty logical and I love learning. So I want to know exactly the reason. And some things I won't know the reason. And I have to be humble enough to accept that I don't know something. That's okay. But for me, like when I really became like Muslim and I had people asking me questions, because I went to a university I was basically the only Muslim. And people ask me questions, oh, so why do you pray? And if I don't know the answer, then what? You know what I mean? Oh, so why don't you eat this? And I don't know the answer, then it seems like I don't even know my religion. And the more times people kept asking me questions, the more I was like, wait, let me make sure I know my religion. Like, I can't sit here and believe in something and not have a reason to believe. Obviously, like, they say in a lot of religions, like, oh, just believe and listen to God and that's it. Which makes sense, but when it comes down to, like, people converting or people being Muslim, in Islam, we believe that you also need proof. That don't just blindly believe. You know, needing proof is important. And the Quran is that proof. Because within the Quran, there's miracles in it that you can explain with science, that science found out in the 1950s that the Quran had 1400 years ago. All these different little miracles, and you're like, you know what? There is something here, you know? And then you kind of, like you said, like put things together and it just clicks for you.
And speaking of that, I recently, well, I'm not going to say recently, but maybe a month after I took my Shahada, I used to wear a gold necklace, and I learned that men shouldn't be wearing gold in Islam, you know? So that's something I thought about. And I heard that they recently found, scientists proved that men actually shouldn't wear gold because it's like something with their, like, hormones or something.
Yeah, like it lowers testosterone levels. I saw a study about that recently, and I was like, Islam?
Guess who said it first?
The
Quran.
And it's kind of amazing where it's like, you start to realize, like, that's why nowadays, like, the men that we have today aren't even the same men that we had 50 years ago.
Not at all.
Like, the testosterone levels right now that we have in a 25-year-old man is the same as like a 35 to 50-year-old man 50 years ago. And that's insane.
Yeah.
Because then what happens when we want to procreate and have kids? How are we going to actually be able to get that going? And nowadays, obviously, like, pornography is like everywhere, where then people are basically releasing their seed, that sexual energy, by like masturbation and stuff, but that's ruining their stock, almost like your natural energy that you store within.
Yes.
You know? And
that's actually an argument that I'm always having with somebody, social media. And I understand as an entrepreneur that social media is important, you know, in this generation.
Yeah.
You know, depending on your job.
Yeah.
But
you need to market, you need to get it out there. So much eyes on it. So everyone's there. So you need the attention. So
my argument is that, one, have you ever just went on YouTube and went on a YouTube short and it's 1 o'clock and then you look at your phone and it's 5 o'clock? You just been scrolling and scrolling and scrolling, wasting so much time that we don't have, you know? Not only that, it's so easy to access these websites like, you know, Pornhub and all of these other websites. And these kids are starting young with it. And like you said, their testosterone levels, which is, you know, it does something to your mind.
And it tricks your brain, for real.
It does. And then you grow up insecure, you know, you're scared to talk to women. You don't socialize because you know that you can go home and go on your phone, you know.
And get the same release that you should be getting from an actual human being.
Yes, and I think that that's just sad, you know. And I know that there's nothing we could do. I know there's nothing nobody can do. Either way, technology is just improving and improving. There's nothing that we can do to stop any of this. You know, there's still going to be people doing it no matter what.
Yeah, and defending it no matter what. And it's crazy because even like looking at the testosterone levels, they're putting like atrazine in all these fertilizers in these plants, but they did a study on frogs and where they put this atrazine within, again, like a controlled group of these frogs, and like a bunch of them basically changed genders.
Yes.
A bunch of them basically started like having no testosterone. And it was like these parts per million. But then they said in our water, there's more parts per million than even in that study. So then what is that doing to everyone around us? You know, that it's making men less masculine. And then this is where like it all just like ties in for me, is that one of the prophet's miracles that he saw, like one of the prophecies, so one of the minor signs of the day of judgment before like the day of reckoning comes, is that women will outnumber men 50-1. And that's already taking place as we speak. Yeah. And then I was thinking, like, and it could be controversial or not, but then when it comes to men, is someone who becomes a woman to a man, is that a man? Obviously, like, gender-wise, your gender fluidity, whatever you want to think you are, go ahead. You know, again, to each their own.
Yeah.
But your sex, like your actual, like, pre-assigned thing at birth was a female, but now you're a man. So then, theoretically, it doesn't count as a man. Like, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So when you look at it in the lens of what God sees, you know, like what the prophet saw, the prophet probably looks and sees all these feminized men. And women always talk about this too, where they're saying a lot of the men nowadays are like females, act like females. And it's true. But then when the prophet saw it, he saw 50-1. So who knows if it is the rate that we even see it now.
Yes.
So then that's another moment in life where I was like, click, you know, it makes sense. And it's only going to get worse, not better, you know. So it is kind of a cool to like see like the two spectrums of that.
Yeah, and that's another thing, you know, with men being a little more feminine nowadays. You go on social media and there's guys dancing, shaking their hips and doing all of this stuff. And it's like, how could you not have shame on yourself for that? There's people, and these people are getting millions of views. These are people who have influence over the youth. And they just are seeing these older people do it, and then the cycle just continues, you know?
Like guys wearing makeup now, and
I'm scared of what we're going to be in 10 years, 20 years. I'm scared. You know, especially I'm the next generation, you know? I'm only 17. And I don't know what the future looks like, you know, with everything going on now.
Me and my brother were on the treadmill at the gym running a little bit after our workout. And we're watching this advertisement because we don't really watch TV. So we're running, and this advertisement comes up for like a makeup. And it's this girl like wearing this makeup. It's like obviously they glamorize them, everything. But then right after the girl is a guy. My brother was like, huh? And like, to me, like, again, personally, that's the first time I've ever seen that.
Yeah.
You know, I've never seen a guy in a makeup ad. You know, obviously, like, you know, the Pantene commercial with the girl has silky flowing hair. I've never even seen a guy in those commercials. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But guys have long hair. Guys can use different scents, you know? But then this makeup ad definitely had this guy. And I was thinking in my head, I'm like, that's interesting. Like, that's the first time I've ever seen that. So then if that's what kids are seeing, that's what people are seeing, they'll say that guys can wear makeup.
Yeah.
It's okay to beautify yourself. But as a guy, like, you shouldn't have that beautification of yourself. Even in Islam, for women, like, there shouldn't be that sense of beautification either, because God made us all beautiful as we are. You shouldn't need to beautify yourself with something that changes the way you look for like 100%. Obviously, you could wear a bit of perfume or a bit of cologne and smell nice and be presentable and have nice teeth, brush your teeth, use a miswak, for example. Like the Prophet used the miswak, and he said that he wishes that people would use a miswak before every prayer, which is basically meaning like before every prayer, brush your teeth basically and be clean. So obviously cleanliness is something that's promoted in Islam, and being beautiful is promoted in keeping yourself together, but not beautifying yourself to the point of putting makeup on your face and wanting to attract the opposite gender 100%, you know, like that shouldn't be your focus, you know? So it's kind of like a cool concept to kind of see how like society is kind of shaping into this rat race of beautification, or rat race of attract the other sex.
And you mentioned that you seen that while you were in a gym. Out of all places, you know how many kids, like, you know, they're just absorbing that. Even with YouTube ads. So like I have little cousins, and I could give them my phone, you know, they're on a kid, like they'll be on like a kids channel with like, you know, like the YouTube kids, and there will still be ads of stuff like you just mentioned, and they're just absorbing it. And these are kids who don't understand the real world yet. It's sad, you know.
And it like manipulates you and it brainwashes you into thinking things that you probably shouldn't be thinking. And I always say this, that like sexualization shouldn't be happening for kids in any regard. You know, like I don't think that we should be teaching sexuality to kids at all, because there's other things that kids should be learning other than he, she, they, him, hers, all that kind of stuff. There's sciences, there's mathematics, there's different types of things to actually learn other than the gender studies, you know? And that's, again, something for me, because, again, if someone grows up and they feel what they feel and they want to choose to make that decision, you know, so be it. Do your thing, you know? No judgment on my part, you know? Because, again, for me, I'm not someone that will give judge upon others. But I understand that there should be some sort of protection on manipulating our kids, because the only person that should be manipulate the kid is the father or mother, and if that's what they choose to do, then that's what they choose to do. But the school system itself shouldn't be the ones manipulating the kids, and that's something that I'll always like kind of stand by, you know. And it gets scary because then, inshallah, God willing, we have kids. Do you put them in a public school? Do you put them in a private school? Do you put them in homeschool? Like, there's all these different questions we ask ourselves now.
Yeah, you know, I plan on having children one day, inshallah. And that's something I always think about. What am I going to do? And anytime I have this conversation with somebody I'm friends with who's not Muslim, they're like, oh, are you going to be strict? Are you going to make your kids practice? Are you going to have them in public school? And yes, my kids, I'm going to have them practicing. And I'm not going to, it's not going to be the type of parenting where I'm like forcing it, like, oh, you have to read it. You have to. No, they're going to see their father
leading by example.
They're going to see their mother leading by example, you know? And they're going to see that, and it's going to, you know, they're going to grow into that lifestyle.
Because the kids, they don't do what you tell them to do. They do what you do.
It's like they're a reflection of you, and that's true, that your kids are a reflection of you, you know? So one day, inshallah, you know, hopefully Allah makes me the man I hope to be, and, you know, a great role model for my family and a good leader.
Of course, so. And inshallah, bro. And that's awesome that, again, you said before, you're 17 already thinking this way. Like, when I was 17, I can tell you straight up that I was not thinking this way.
Yeah, I get that a lot.
You know what I mean? And alhamdulillah that you have that. And that kind of shows that Allah really guided you at a young age. And they say that the ones that Allah guides at a younger age, Allah really loves. You know, and like even for me, like I'm 25, but that's still really young comparatively to society. You know, obviously people live to be 70, 80, 90, 100, but to be 25, 17, to be thinking this way is really important. And to have that sense of confidence within yourself to live that way. Because people will look at you and be like, ah, man, you're bugging, bro. You're living life mad strict. Like, have fun, bro. You're young. But the thing is, people don't realize that you think we're young in the sense of time, but we only have today.
Yes.
We only have today to live for. So it's like, what can I do today to make me the best man that I can be?
And anytime I get anytime somebody says that to me, my exact response is, it's like, you're not even promised 100 years in this dunya.
Yeah.
You're not. Why would you risk the hereafter for this life?
Yeah.
You have nothing here.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and that's how I live my life on a daily basis. I think about death every day. I remember it.
Mm-hmm.
You know, as much as I remember Allah and I praise Him, I always keep in my head, you know, death could happen today.
Mm-hmm.
I could not make it home today.
Mm-hmm.
What can I do to improve and be a better Muslim today?
Yeah.
You know, I donate a lot of charity. So there was this one time, and I don't really talk about like when I do stuff like this because, you know, I just feel like Allah seen it. So
yeah,
you know,
exactly. I feel you.
So like on weekends, Saturdays, I'll go to like Starbucks, have a coffee, catch up on business,
Mm-hmm.
make new plans for myself, write down goals, whatever.
Mm-hmm.
It doesn't even matter if I just go and watch videos. Like that's my day where I can relax. And there was some lady with a sign. It was like a big sign, and like it was a picture of her kids, and the sign basically said like, "Hey, I need help. Anything works, you know." And I didn't have any cash. All I had was a card. And I drove past her, and like when I exited the parking lot, it went straight to a highway. And when I tell you, I made a U-turn on the highway illegally because I'm like, I cannot just drive past this lady like this.
Like something was calling you to like be there.
Yeah, a Muslim would not drive past somebody in need of help like this.
Mm-hmm.
This is a woman, you know, and I can tell that she was telling the truth. Like her clothes were like all ripped. She was like really skinny. Like she needed help. And I cleaned my car of every piece of change I had in the car. I went in my trunk. I had a little bag, and I probably gave her like $35 in change, all the change I had. And usually I keep that change. You know, if I'm a little down on a payment for my car or something, I'll go cash it. I gave her everything, and that made me feel great. You know, that made me feel great. And even though I do stuff like that, I still wake up and say, death could happen today. You know, I think of the hellfire. Even though I know I do good stuff, I still think of it because that's just, you know, it motivates me to wake up and be a better Muslim.
Yeah,
you know? So.
Exactly, bro. Alhamdulillah. And like, it's intense sometimes to some people because some people like, nah, man, you're thinking too much. Life ain't that deep. It's not that deep, but it really is that
very
deep.
Brother.
And that's the thing is like, for me, I remember in college, one time someone looked at me and was like, oh, like, not everything is so deep. But I looked at my friend and looked at the person who said that, and I was just like, is though, you know? And like, and that was when I was starting my journey to really getting back to my deen, you know, like, and really getting back to like being the better version of myself, you know, because I never thought I wasn't great or a good person, because I was a good person, but I didn't feel that I was the best Muslim genuinely that I could be. But then because I was comparing myself to people that I was seeing around me, but around me wasn't the best influences. So if I'm comparing myself to them, then obviously I'll feel all good and holy and true on the inside because I'm seeing things happen that are wicked. But then when I separate out of it, COVID happened. I was home alone working my tail off, 50, 60 hour splits, and then working at a pizza shop doing deliveries to save up for like building a business, building a company. I remember thinking, life is real. Like, this is serious. Like, I was all alone in my thoughts all the time. So I had time to constantly think, wait, like, I've been messing up. Like, I haven't been the best version of myself. Like you said, there's so many little moments of charity that I've done and felt like, wow, like, because I'm Muslim, I was drawn to do that because I had that feeling of, no, a Muslim would do this, you know? And that's amazing that you have that experience at a young age and you're feeling that. And know that, like, you're not alone. Like, a lot of people do feel this way with you too, you know? And going off that, I kind of want to ask you, like, what do you think really, like, helped build this mindset for you? Do you think it was just Islam, or do you think you kind of always had it within?
I was not always this person. Wallahi, I wasn't. Growing up, like, I wasn't a bad kid, but I was a very curious kid. Like, if I know I'm not supposed to do something, but it looks fun, I'm gonna do it.
And you wanted to try it out, experience it.
Like, you know, I have scars all over my body from stuff I did that I had no business doing. So, like, I was always the type of kid to have fun, even if it was dangerous. You know, I just wanted to have fun. You know, sometimes I was a class clown. Sometimes I was.
I feel that I was too. So I
get around girls, and all of a sudden I'm a comedian. You know, I was this type of person. So, like, I'll say quarantine I went into a depression, the lockdown. I went into a depression, a very bad depression, and I just didn't know what to do, where to go, or what I was going to turn out to be. I was failing school. I said I was talking about dropping out. My grades were horrible, and I just was so hurt at the fact that, wow, this is my life. Like, I'm not gonna be anything. I didn't know where to turn, and I had people to turn to, but you can't just talk about stuff. I mean, not everybody, but not everybody could just talk to their parents about stuff,
Yeah.
because
And not a lot of people even understand. They just judge you rather than actually help or listen to you about what you're going through.
yeah. So like, I didn't have anybody really to talk to about it. Everybody I did talk to about it was like, "Oh no, like you can do it," and I'm like, "I can't." Like I was telling myself, "I can't, and I believed it. And so 2020 ends, 2021 starts. Sorry. I get into a relationship. I'm feeling a little better. It ends, back down. 2022, better. I lose a friend. Unfortunately, he passed away. Back down. And then this is where my mindset just like I lose my mind, and I'm just on a horrible path now. I even got into music. Like I was like getting into it with people. Because I had no control over myself. Like I was just drained. Like I was just broken. And then, like I said, alhamdulillah, I went to the gym. I stepped in the gym. I started working out, and like my mind was getting stronger as I was getting stronger physically. And then that's, when I picked up the book, and then my whole character changed. I feel like I really grew from a boy to a man once I picked up that Quran and I became a Muslim, and, I bought a car, built businesses. I graduated. I got my diploma. Alhamdulillah, I'm in college now. And I'm just building my life. I'm so excited, beyond happy for what my future is gonna be like.
Alhamdulillah, bro.
And there was times where I would get in trouble by my mother because I would go to sleep at 3:00. As soon as I come home from school, I would go to sleep because I had nowhere to go, nothing to do, nobody to talk to. So I'm like, what's the closest thing to death right now? Sleep. My brain isn't functioning. So that's just what I would do. I would just go to sleep, all day long. And then, when I went into the gym, I had somewhere to be. And then I just started growing and growing and growing and growing. And now here I am, a better version of myself. I'm happy. I'm stronger mentally, physically. And I just feel like I have a bulletproof mentality almost, and I couldn't have done it without Allah. So,
Alhamdulillah, bro. And congratulations on that too. Like it's an amazing story because sometimes like people go through things and you don't know why you're going through everything you're going through. But obviously now in hindsight, you're looking back at all those trials, those struggles. You're like, this led me into the best path possible.
Yes.
Even though it sounds crazy in that moment. I guarantee you 2 years ago, you weren't thinking that you'd feel like this ever.
I wasn't. And that's what really like makes this feeling even better. Because not even 2 years ago, what month are we in? We're in August. I'll say December of this year. I wouldn't have thought I would have been here at all. Like I'll say like December is when I really started transitioning into the man I am today. So
that new year, going into that new year, really like helped change things for you.
Yeah, and there's a lot of people who wronged me in the beginning of this transition. And I'm so thankful for them. I'm so thankful, like, for the people who wronged me, for the people who stabbed me in my back, for the people who should have been there. I'm so thankful, beyond thankful for them. Because as a Muslim, they opened the door for me.
Yeah.
Alhamdulillah, I'm thankful for them all. And I make dua for them. Every prayer, I say their names.
I feel you 100%, bro. Because I went through similar, like kind of like intense situations where I lost people that I never thought I'd lose.
Yeah.
And I was still praying for them after. Like I hope God guides them in the best way to like heal them, maybe because the whole quote is like hurt people hurt people.
Yeah.
And like obviously we're all hurting in this life. It's not an easy life to live. There's especially in the society we're in. And I always thought like, wow, these people really did wrong me. These people really did all these things. And even when I hear like things happen bad to them, that someone's like, oh, did you know this happened to this person who used to know? Then I'm like, I don't feel happy that something bad happened to them. You know, I'm like, nah, I wish God like to forgive them and absolve them of that pain, because if anyone wants pain on other people, then they themselves are not a good person. Yeah. You know?
And brother, I feel like that's very contagious and poisonous. Like their mind is so poisoned, because it's crazy that you say that, because it's like one of the people I was talking about who wronged me, and you know, it's like every week I see something happens with them. And guess what I do?
Make dua for them.
I make dua. And I don't care if you physically stab me in my back 1,000,000 times. I don't care if you took every limb off of my body. I'm gonna hope that you better yourself and get past that mindset for you, you know? Like I want to see you do good.
Especially because you felt that feeling of sadness and depression, like that bottom feeling. Then now that you feel more whole and complete, that's why you, as a Muslim, you want others to feel like you're saying, like, why don't other people see this? Like, wake up, see what I just saw, because you want people to feel what you feel.
Yeah, I don't want to see anybody hurt. I don't want to see anybody down. You know, I'm the type of guy, I will never walk over anybody. I will never walk around anybody. You know, I'm gonna reach my hand out and I'm gonna pull you back up. Even if I have nothing to give you. If there's, you know, a situation where you really need something, if I don't have it, I'm still going to check on you every day, because that's just the type of man I am, you know. And once I'm involved, I feel like it's my responsibility to help you, you know. Even, like I said, even though if I know I can't, I'm still going to make that attempt too, you know. And if I can't do it, there's somebody who could. Allah.
Exactly, bro.
Alhamdulillah.
Alhamdulillah, bro. And I kind of wanted to ask you, like, so what is something in life that you feel like you've done that, like, you're really proud of then?
I would say graduating high school and making the decision to choose Islam. That's what changed my life. Yeah, matter of fact, I'm going to say choosing Islam. I'm going to put that first, because that's the day I became a man. But just being man enough, because I'm into, like, I loved music, and I loved being around girls. You know, I loved doing all of this stuff. I never was a drinker. I never was a smoker. I never in my life liked it, ever. But, you know, I wasn't perfect. And I just feel like it's not easy to just wake up one day and be a whole new person and live a whole new lifestyle. You know, go to the Masjid every Friday. Don't miss your prayer. Pray 5 times a day. Some people like think that it's easy to just let go, and it's not, you know. So I feel like it really, you know, took a lot for me to say, okay, this is what I have to do now, and this is what I'm gonna do, you know. This is what I have to do. So I feel like that was a huge step that I took this year, and alhamdulillah, you know, I'm so glad and thankful.
Alhamdulillah, bro. No, and that's awesome. Like, and to be proud of that is a good thing, you know. Like, to be proud that you became a Muslim, that you kind of, again, got that diploma, did those things that you didn't think you'd be able to do, but now, boom, you did it.
Like the way my grades were looking when I was in high school, I'm like, I'm never going to college. I never planned on it. Actually, after I graduated, I still didn't plan on going to college. It was like, I'm going to get out of high school, I'm going to open up a business, I'm going to do this, and then you try to open up a business, it fails. And then it fails again, and then it fails again, and then it fails again. But I'm going to keep going. But you know what? I'm like, you know what? I'm going to get as much papers saying that I did something as possible. You know? And after I get them all, I won't smile, because my mother will be smiling the day I show her, you know, that I did something with my life. And that's important to me, you know?
And like, having that pride and having that honor, where it's like, obviously everyone wants to retire their parents. Everyone wants to, like, make their parents feel proud of the son, the daughter that they had. And it's a universal experience to want to make the people who, again, created you proud. And like, the thing is all it really takes is you committing to yourself and having that discipline and making promises to yourself and keeping them. Because that really is what discipline is making promises to yourself and keeping it. You know, and just doing like the little things day by day, marginal growth, and know that it's not going to happen overnight. It's going to be years of grinding, and anything of that you want to achieve at a high level is not going to happen overnight.
And it's going to go like this, up, down, up, down, you know. And I look at it as a roller coaster. I just buckle up and I go. You know, I know that I'm going down. I know that I'm coming up. I know I'm going upside down. And I enjoy the ride. I'm thankful for the bad days and the good days and the failure and the success. I love it all. Like, this is life. You know, if it was that easy, then everybody would be living the life I want to live. You know, and that's how I carry myself, you know.
Of course, bro. And that, again, goes back to that discipline.
That discipline.
And to even have it at a young age, like 17, bro, is incredible. And may Allah grant you that success, bro, for
Thank
real.
you,
because, again, like, it is, like, a blessing every day to be alive. And I feel like the fact that you already feel that way at a young age is a good thing, because sometimes, bro, people will live 20 years, 30 years at a job they hate, 10 years, 5 years even at a job they hate, knowing that, oh, I'm stuck in this, for example, 9-to-5 grind, doing a job I don't like to do. And there's nothing wrong having a 9-to-5 or having any kind of job in this society, but it's a matter of, are you content with your life? Are you happy with yourself? Do you have dreams and aspirations that you wish you could have really went after? You know, and I think that's the thing, is people don't give themselves enough sacrifice, where they sacrifice some of these pleasures to then have that real life that they want. Because the real life they want is at the other end of sacrificing the things that are slowing you down. You know, and even for, like, I saw a video explaining this, and it was talking about how, as like a man, like, you shouldn't be worrying about women in the beginning, early stages of your life. Because I talked to a guy in the gym, he's like 35 years old, and he has like a company, he has like a trucking business, and he was telling me, yo, bro, some of my friends right now, again, we're 35, 36, and they're sleeping with 3 new girls a week, messing around in the club, doing all these things, and spending all their extra money on these girls, buying the Beamers, buying these things to then impress these girls. But they're not married, they don't have kids, they don't have a family, and they run around basically like being kind of like delinquents, you know? And he's saying, like, how is that anything that's positive? Like, you guys are chasing these women, but if I sit down and talk to them about stocks, talk to them about business, they're not even there. They're like, yo, bro, have some fun. I'm like, dude, we're 35. We can't be doing that. But then to be at 17 thinking, I got to be disciplined and committed. By the time you're 35, it's going to be a whole different story. You know, and I think people really underestimate the level of just focus, you know, and like giving up like those desires and temptations, you know?
Yeah, and a lot of men, I feel like in this generation, just don't know what it feels like to be a man. Like, that manly spirit isn't in the air anymore. Like we talked about earlier, with, you know, having access to all these brainwashing sites. Like, what is important isn't interesting anymore, you know? And I can guarantee you that the guys that are 35 years old to 40 who are running around in clubs every night chasing 3 different girls, they're not happy with their life, because, like, it's just a constant cycle. Every day you're doing the same thing. Like, how could you even be happy doing that? You know,
there's
cool.
No stability.
It feels good in the moment, but, like, you know,
like, you might feel like the man because, I just pulled this girl. Like, I'm talking to all these girls, but it's like, as a person, as an individual, like, how does that make you more valuable? And I always see these stupid videos, and like, I hate seeing these videos where it's like, as a man, being promiscuous is not a bad thing because it's hard to get the women and stuff. But I'm like, nowadays, women and guys are throwing their bodies out for free easy.
Yes, they are.
You know, men and women, and it's wrong on both parts. And sometimes people will only look at women and be like, oh yeah, she's too promiscuous, she's low quality. But a man who's promiscuous is also low quality. But people tend to think that it's not. I'm like, no, both ways is wrong, because you're giving yourself to people that shouldn't have access to you. Because then where's the modesty in life? Where's the modesty in being with one person? And nowadays, like, people get divorced because I don't love them right now in this moment. But anyone who's grown up in an Eastern society or Eastern like culture, like, they go through things, there's trauma, there's things, but they stay together because they know that feeling will fade of like anger. And even with siblings or brothers or family, you're telling me you 100% love your brother 100% of the time, every single moment of every waking day? No, you're going to have arguments, you're going to have beef, you're going to have issues, but it's a matter of committing to one another as a family unit. That's what gets you through the struggle. And that's what makes you then in turn stronger as a unit. But people kind of don't have that, like you said, that grind to go through those like sucky things anymore.
That hunger, you know, they don't have the hunger. And when you're living a life like that, you don't have the motivation. You don't, because one thing I can say is that having a woman that, you know, gives herself to you and, you know, wants to settle down with you and just gives you her time, that's a reward. When you're a man that's working every day to better himself, you're disciplined, you do everything you have to do, that's a reward. So you have nothing to look up to in your life. Like, clearly you don't have any goals. You're not chasing anything but women. So basically, like, you're just living for nothing.
You live in this content.
Yeah.
Like, you treat it as that's your rush. That's your A plus, like, reward star. But
so they don't even get that feeling inside of accomplishment. Like, they will never be able to, get to sit back and say, oh, look at my wife,
Nowadays, even too, people like, something I hate is when people kind of like show off their husbands or show off their wives on social media, all these things. And it's like, first off, evil eye exists. Like, people who don't want the best for you. People are jealous, people are envious. And not only that, then it's like, if you're showing off your wife wearing no clothes, doing all those things, then like, how is that yours for real? Like, she's millions of men are staring at her. Yeah. Everyone has access to looking at her adornments. Then how is that special? And same thing with men. It's like, you're showing off your body on social media so girls can slide up and comment and think about you. But like, how is that then fair to your wife? Yeah. And I see it both ways. And I just feel like it's something that I used to do even myself. Like, I was on like a soccer team, and like, obviously all the guys were all in like these pictures, like flexing their abs and looking like all muscular in the photos and stuff, and like posting it and like being goofy. But then in hindsight, when I look back on those moments, I'm like, I was such a dweeb, Like, I looked at it and like, that was such a corny boy moment, like a little boy moment. And people grow up and they keep doing those types of things,
Yeah, and I can say that I was guilty of that at one point as well. Like I said, I love the gym, so I get a mirror picture, it looks good, I post it. Yeah. And I don't even post it for anybody else. I post it because I like the leadership role. So I don't know. I wanted to build like a following, like
of people that appreciated that what you did was working and stuff,
and help people. Like, I was like trying to get into personal training, but I also had to learn the hard way about the evil eye. Something I really want to do is, inshallah, I want to get married. And I want to have a family. And I met a girl, and we were like halal dating. Like, we didn't ever, we were just getting to know each other.
Yeah, like the conversation stage.
I was like going to meet her father. And I just couldn't stop talking about her to everybody. Like, oh yeah, I met this girl. She's the one. And it didn't work. Evil eye. I learned that the hard way.
Every time you start talking about, bro, even when I was younger, I remember I'd be like, yeah, bro, I like this girl. I'm crushing on her so hard. And then she'd say, oh, I don't like you anymore.
Yeah, but it's so hard to not do it, because it's like, just because a female wears a hijab, there's still girls out there, we're human, who do a little bit of wrong. So when you find a girl that actually does everything that you desire, and she follows your religion, you just
you want to share it so much. You want to talk about it. Yeah,
and that's what I did. Like, I was telling everybody about her. I met this girl. I'm gonna marry her. Wallahi, I'm gonna marry her. And then I woke up one morning and
bro, you completely understand, bro. And again, that's okay. Like, remember, you're young still. Like, you're gonna make those mistakes. Yeah. But those mistakes you make now, bro, will save you for the real gem. It would. Because then when the gem comes for real, you're going to be hiding her. You're going to be putting her in a safe with 10 locks. You know what I mean? Like, you're going to be putting her in the safe 10 locks, and you ain't even going to look. You're going to be like, I'm putting it away. Yeah. I'm putting it in the safe. I don't even want to open it myself. Because you understand, like, I'm not about to run around telling people. Yeah. And even with, like, things in, like, work and business, like, a lot of times, like, I talk to a lot of people about what I was doing, because what it is something that's social, getting people involved. Yes. I needed to, but not everyone I needed to tell. Yeah. Not everyone I needed to talk to about it. You know what I mean?
And not everybody's rooting for you. Like, one thing that I also learned the hard way is that sometimes you can educate an enemy. You'll be talking to somebody thinking that they're your friend, they're going to support you, and you're really educating an enemy. They're absorbing everything you're saying, and they're just putting bad energy onto it. They're spitting on it. They're stomping on it. And you never expect it from these people, and then something goes wrong. So
the trick is to just do things and follow your own intuition 100%. Yes. Because intuition comes from God. Like, if you are in touch with yourself and with your prayers and everything, those thoughts you have after prayer, those feelings of, like, those daydreams you have. Like, they say even daydreams, like, people always say, like, oh, stop daydreaming. But I learned somewhere that daydreams are part of our religion as well, where daydreams is a reason why you're daydreaming about those things. Because those are things that you're thinking about. That's the manifestations, that dua that you make, the things that you want to achieve in this life. If God puts a thought in your head that's like that, it's because he wants you to have that thought. He wants you to kind of think those positive thoughts about that business you want to create, or that people you want to meet, or the impact you want to have, and it's really special to actually go for that kind of energy. And then when you have the energy, to kind of Then no matter how bad you want to talk to people about it. Because me personally, I go through this all the time. And again, even me being older, I still go through it, you know, and it's a lifelong journey of having that experience happen to us. You know what I mean?
Another thing, you have to be careful with that though, because the shaitan is also in your ear, you know. And I say that because I have these amazing thoughts of the things I want to do, the places I want to go, the businesses I want to create. But I also have thoughts of bad stuff, you know, stuff that could happen, stuff that happened before, you know. And that's the shaitan. You know, he's trying to take my pride away, and I understand that. You know, I watched a video recently, and basically it was saying how the shaitan will, you may experience a feeling where you're like, oh, I did this before, I lived like this, I had this attitude, and I don't have it no more. And I watched in the video, it was explaining how that's the shaitan trying to get you to turn away from your strongest self, you know, like, you know, the most improved version of yourself. And
what, to think that like, oh, you don't do it because you don't do it anymore, then you don't have to really keep trying as hard as you're trying.
You can't go back. You're not strong enough to go back. And, you know, there's actually people who aren't strong enough to defeat that, you know, and one of them being me at some point, you know, just like I explained with my grades and stuff earlier, and like how my life was going. It was beating me because I was letting it beat me. I was accepting it. When you just put up a fight, it makes a huge difference. So, you know, shaitan isn't strong enough to get in my head and, you know, take me off track. So,
alhamdulillah, bro. I just want to thank you again for like sharing your story and like opening up too, because a lot of people might listen to this and be like, yo, like that makes a lot of sense. Like I kind of was going through something bad, and then boom, how do I get to that next step?
And that's what I plan on doing, inshallah. You know, hopefully one day I could start something up like you, you know, and just explain my story, talk to reverts, talk to young people who haven't figured out what they want to do. And like, I'm young, I haven't even experienced life yet, but the strategies I use to get where I'm at now, I'm sure could help a lot of people, you know. So
especially a lot of young people, because then they can really relate with you, because then it's not like, because obviously it's different when like me listening to some 45-year-old old guy talking about this, or some 60-year-old guy talking about life, and I'm like, okay, but you don't get it. You don't live the life we're living now, but we get the life we're living now with the social media, the how everything's in our face constantly, you know.
And to see somebody in the same age group as you, in the same generation, being at the point in the top of the mountain where you want to be, it's like, all right, I can do it.
And it's really inspiring,
And I promise you, wallahi, if you knew me before, you would be so proud of me. You know, like you would just be like, you did it. Like, congratulations, you know.
You're like, you're on your way.
Yeah,
like,
so the people who knew me before, when they see me, they don't even recognize me. I talk to them, they're like, no way, like this isn't you, you changed. And I'm like, yeah, you know, this is me.
It's awesome, bro. Alhamdulillah. So of course, and two things that I do in the show is I ask them like, what's a word you want to learn in Arabic, and then I ask them like, what's your favorite quote. So the word you want to learn in Arabic is warrior. And the word that I found is like muharrab, or like the way you really say is like muharib. So it's kind of like almost like a warrior, like an attacker, or someone who like a fighter or command, you know. So it's that energy, you know. So it's muharib, because harb in Arabic would mean like war, or like a battle. So muharib would be one who fights within that war or battle. So say it one more time with me. Muharib. Rib.
Muharib.
Perfect, bro.
My Arabic is getting better.
Yeah, bro.
I've been working on it.
Nice.
You know, I'm like gonna start walking up to people saying full sentences soon, inshallah.
Inshallah,
you know,
bro.
I'm really working on it. I'm really trying to improve it.
Hey, bro, day by day. And like I've been doing like just Duolingo every day for like 5 minutes. Even though it sounds so trivial, like, oh, 5 minutes a day, but I've learned over 500 to 1,000 words of a new language just because I'm like doing it every day for 5 minutes.
And that's another thing. Just talking about languages and wanting to learn them. Like, I stress myself out so much, and I talk to some of the brothers at the Masjid, and they tell me like, you just have to relax, because I got into an accident recently because I was just so stressed, because I try to take on so much stuff. Everything that comes to my mind, I'm like, I'm going to do it. And then I try to do it all, and then like I get drained. And then, you know, I'm trying to learn Arabic. I'm trying to get all the prayers down, you know. I'm trying to do everything at once. And you were actually one of the people, along with your brother, who told me, like, this is a whole nother language. You know, this is, like, the more you practice, every stutter you do when you try to read it, you get a good deed for that because you're trying. And you even explained to me that I would get more deeds more good deeds than somebody who actually practices on a daily basis their whole life, because I'm new and I'm actually giving it my time and trying to learn.
Yeah,
so
exactly.
Thank you for that advice, my brother.
Of course.
You know, that really helped me. You know?
Bro. And that's the whole goal, is like to like kind of like de-stress that mentality. Even for me, a lot of times I'm like stressed. Oh, I do this. I didn't get this done today. Yeah. I have all these things on my daily to-do list, my weekly goals, my spiritual goals. And like I check off these boxes all the time. But then if I don't succeed on every single box, even for a minute a day, I feel so disappointed. Even though I did so much, but it's so much that no one sees. So I feel like because no one sees it but me, Allah sees it. Yes. He sees the work I'm putting in. He sees the grind that you're putting in, the hours upon hours. So always give yourself that, alhamdulillah, and you'll be good. And last thing we do, I always ask, like, what is one of your favorite quotes? And the quote you put here is, show me your friends and I'll show you your future. And I kind of would love for you to like kind of end on that and just tell me a little bit about that quote.
So that quote is very simple, but it's very deep. Show me your friends, I'll show you your future. And when I first heard it, I'm like, these are my friends. You know, they may do what they do, I may do what I do, but
yeah, like no impact.
Have anything to do with me. Oh, I learned the hard way.
Yeah.
Like I said, I always learn everything the hard way. But show me your friends, show me your future. That quote means everything to me. You know, and I'm going to teach that to my kids one day, inshallah.
Inshallah.
And you could be on this straight path, and the people you're hanging out with could just go this way. You know, just around. And you may follow them because you're like, oh, if he goes around, it's going to lead to my path. No, there could be something in store waiting. That you just make one mistake from following them. And you could risk your future, you know?
Yeah.
So show me your friends, show me your future is very important.
Love
and I
that,
just feel like if you're surrounded by 5 guys who are like eating pizza, playing PS4 from 9 to 5, and you're working, you know, and they're doing that every weekend, you're going to do it.
Yeah.
Even if you're not playing the game, you're going to sit there with them and waste time, you know? So that's just what it means to me, you know, like I surround myself with guys who are, you know, on the religion, practice and work and, you know, have the same goal as me. And guess what happened since I've done that? I've been getting better and better and better, accomplishing more things.
Alhamdulillah,
so, bro. Show me your friends and I'll show you your future.
Love that, bro. But thank you again for being here for the Oly Kanoli Show and stepping onto it. So I really appreciate you sharing your story and being here and sharing this moment with me. Alhamdulillah, bro. So thank you guys again for tuning in to another episode of the Oly Kanoli Show. And again, Samir is awesome. So intelligent, so humble, so honest, young man, 17. Please leave a bunch of friendly comments down below. And if you guys have any questions about Islam or any questions that you even want to ask Samir, please leave the comments down below and I'll be sure to get to them and respond to them. Thank you guys again for tuning in. I really appreciate it. And I'll see you guys next time. See you later.